Oh, no.
I like grading.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Let's do this. I'm just getting everything set up. We'll give everybody just like a little bit of time to log in, and then we'll kind of run through for the attendance, and then we'll get started with kind of the presentation of what to expect from the course and everything like that. All right. We've got Kristen and I've gone Kristen. We've got Jenna and Nick and Erica. I guess it's everybody so far. All right, this Zoom user person here. If you want to chat, it's like send a message in chat, or if you have a microphone or whatever, let me know who you are so I can mark you off on attendance. I think there's just one person who that's that.
It's Lillian Montero.
Okay, thank you very much. Perfect. All righty. All right. Is it Aishwarya? I mean, maybe I sound mean. I can't pronounce names very well. That's my fault. But I'd rather figure it out today than be guessing later. All right, so we're still waiting on. Okay, there's Melissa. I already marked. Yeah. Okay. Let's see, Sarah. Wish I could see this. Here we go. This will be maybe a little easier. All right, I'm looking for Katie. Emma, Jackie. And Nadia and Sarah. And I don't see them. So I'll just have to double check, I guess, as we go, because I don't want to make everybody else have to wait for these people. So this class is technically right now we have 14 people enrolled. That's about how big the summer classes are. They're just not full for whatever reason. Probably because, you know, microbiology is a daunting class as it is. Plus, really, you guys, it's a pretty daunting class as it is. And on top of that, 8 weeks instead of 16 weeks. But on the upside, it has been shown that people who dedicate themselves to taking an 8-week course as opposed to the 16 tend to do better. So if you know what you're getting into and you're prepared for it is really what it seems like. It's kind of how it rolls out. So let me see. Let's go ahead and get started with this. Then I'll go back through the attendance later and make sure I get everybody. But okay, so we've got microbiology, basically the study of any living organism that is too small to see with a microscope. If you need a microscope to see it or to investigate it, that's what microbiology is going to be studying. So it's mostly in our class going to be bacteria. In the lab, we'll be working with actual live bacteria, things like E. coli and salmonella and all that. And actually, yes, we will be working with those organisms. So be prepared for that. They are non-pathogenic versions of those. So It shouldn't be any danger or anything. It's just, yeah. I don't know how to mute that. I keep talking. But whatever. So, yeah. So that's what the course basically is going to cover. We will also talk about things like viruses and things like that. The basics for the organisms that you'll kind of get to know through the course are going to be, you're going to learn about bacteria. You're going to learn about viruses. You're going to learn about fungi. That includes yeast. Yeast are fungi. We're going to learn about protozoa. That's things like malaria and giardia. And then we're going to be learning about parasitic worms as well. That includes like tapeworms and stuff like that. And then we're also going to learn about the prions, and that's a whole other category in and of itself. We'll talk about those whenever we get into that a little bit more. No reason to do it now. So, but yeah, that's the gist of what to expect. But today we're not going to get into that part of it today. I'm really just walking you through the course and what the course about how to find your assignments and navigate Canvas a little bit better and kind of what's expected from you in the course. So first, let's walk through what you see on Canvas. So on Canvas, hopefully, you guys most of you have figured it out. If you haven't taken the time to figure it out yet, that's okay. That's kind of why we're getting into this now. Or if you're having a hard time with the online stuff, that's okay too. That's again why we're doing this now, right? I want to be sure that everybody has an idea of how to work all of this as they're going through it, especially since now they're doing asbestos removal in this building. I'm at the science building right now. On the third floor is safe, but I mean, they're doing work up and down the hall still. The second floor is still completely taped off. And so keep that in mind. But when it is open, I need for the microbiology lab on the second floor, as well as our prep lab where we make the media and everything for our course. And we'll talk about what media is and all that later on. But I need all of that to be open safely in order for us to really run the lab. And I don't know when that's going to be exactly. So I will keep you updated and I'll let you guys know when to show up in person. But it's not going to continue like this. It's not all going to be virtual. I know some people would rather it be virtual and just stay that way, but it's actually been dictated to us out of my control, really. You can't teach this course with an online lab. You don't get credit for it if it's online. So we have to have that part of it. At least we have an excuse for now, but yeah. So that's why we can't just keep it this way. So yeah. But anyways, whenever you're getting onto Canvas, basically, let me click on the little pen thing here. Okay. This is what it looks like. This is your home page and everything on here. There's links that are kind of obvious, things like syllabus or course instructor or class schedule. All of these kind of tell you what they are and what to do. So be aware of that. But you're kind of like going to mostly be looking at the bar over here on the side. So that includes like all this stuff in the announcements as well. In case you haven't noticed, I send out announcements. That's my way of communicating with you guys. Be sure that you check your OK State email. If you don't do that regularly, do it regularly. That's where I'm going to be emailing you on. Meet us online. Of course, you guys have figured this out so far, so you're doing good. But meeting online versus in person, and oh, we're going to move the lab to next week and there's not class or something like that. That's all going to be posted in the announcements. Maybe moving a date of a big assignment or something. That's where you're going to see that. And I sometimes will also send out an email, but it will be through Canvas. And that's usually for the more minor stuff. I like for the announcements to be on the announcement page so you can go back and refer to it if you need to. So that's there. Not to mention the stuff that we already have posted on the Canvas announcements, like welcome to microbiology and all that stuff that kind of walks you through and welcome to the course and all that. A little bit what I'm going through now. But yeah, take your time to go familiarize yourself with that part of it. There's also on that left side, so going through the stuff that's on the left over here in the blue, syllabus. So we're going to go over the syllabus here in a moment, but that's where you can find the syllabus. A lot of students will come to me asking about what date this is due, or I didn't know we had that assignment, or how come that's worth so much points, or that test is comprehensive, or whatever. That is all in the syllabus. So, do everybody a favor. If you're unsure about something, refer to the syllabus. If there's any changes made to the syllabus, you will be notified ahead of time. So, if I post something with a date change, then I will be sending an email or an announcement or something like that to let you guys know that I reposted the syllabus so that you have a awareness, right? Keep everybody on the same page. All right, we'll go over that soon. We also have the assignments link there. That's going to be all of your assignments. That includes your exams. So anything that is going to be due and have a grade and have to be turned in this course, if it has a due date, you find it in assignments, right? You'll also find it over here on the right-hand side where it says to do. Those will list all of your assignments that are due, like basically in order of when they're due in the course. You can also see this on your dashboard page with all of your courses, and it'll have everything listed out, basically due dates for that. So you can refer to that if you're looking at when things are due. So keep that in mind. But you can click on announcements, and we'll go through all that here in just a moment. So modules. On the modules, that is basically kind of where the online stuff is set up. Now, this is a hybrid course. There is no lecture portion of this course. It's reliant on you, right? So that portion is online. You do need to be watching the videos and doing the homework and the quizzes and all of that stuff. And all of that stuff is laid out in the modules, and I'll walk you through those in a moment. But that's the lecture part of the course, and I will not be teaching that part to you. We may have reviews before the exams, but that's pretty much, other than that, it's, you're expected to manage that on your own. That's the idea of what a hybrid course is. If you were hoping that this course was going to be traditional, that we would have everything in person and do everything in person, I would recommend having taken it in the fall or the spring. I recommend this course as a traditional course in general. But in the summer, they run it as a hybrid course. So, yeah, whatever. And then the last thing is going to be basically the course materials. So if you haven't figured it out yet, the course materials area is where you're going to be supposed to be finding access to Top Hat. I guess there's a few people that haven't been able to find access that way, but the problem with it is that there are people who have. So, so it doesn't seem to be an issue directly with Top Hat or directly with Canvas, because it is working for some people. They are working that. I just got an email from the bookstore to myself as well as to Top Hat. They are aware of the issue, and we are going to be trying to work it out. But that's all I can say for now. I have no control over that. I can't let somebody into that. That's Top Hat, Monocle. It's sort of like if you guys were taking this course and we had McGraw-Hill, I don't control McGraw-Hill, but I can give you assignments through it. So that's basically how Top Hat is going to work too. It's a digital lab manual. The other option is the paper version of the lab manual. The paper version of the lab manual, it costs the same. So if you wanted both, you have to pay for both. And I don't like it because if you spill things and all that, it gets in the paper and it's gross. So you're working with actual live bacterial cultures. So people spill them all the time, like all the time. So be prepared for that. We'll go over lab safety and all of that and in another talk. That'll be the next one. So, but yeah, let's move on. So getting into the announcements, again, this is where you're going to find all of the information for the course. If I make any changes to due dates, if I move a date of class or switch a lab with another lab and how to be prepared for that and everything, that's all going to be over there. So you'll want to be sure you read Welcome to Microbiology, Missing Units. In case you haven't figured out also, all exams are going to be in person. I don't use ProctorU. I think it's a load of crap. So anybody who's used it will agree with me. Like there's nothing to love about it, right? So we do our exams in person through lockdown. I hate lockdown also, but it's the lesser of the two evils. And plus I can always send you, if you're having issues, to the testing center. Problems with ProctorU are problems. So I don't like it. So we don't use it in this course. So when we go through the schedule, you'll see that I have slotted in days for the exam. So if you have a lecture exam, you will have a day in the laboratory where you would be coming in normally, normal time in the laboratory where you normally are, nothing weird. But we'll be having an exam that day instead of a lab. And there won't also be a lab. It will just be the exam that day. So that I think will work out better for you guys being hybrid. So you don't have to worry about different time, different day and all that, which is what I usually do with my online folks in my 16-week course. But summer, let's not mess with that. Because you still have the same number of exams at the same sequence within the chapters that you have to learn. And it sucks. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You've only got 8 weeks in the course. So you end up having exams frequently. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So I've tried consolidating them to just like, because instead of having 4 unit exams, having 2, like a 1 and 2 exam and a 3 and 4 exam, comprehensive. They hated it. And I just have every feeling that you guys would too. It's just how it goes. So better to do the kind of smaller bites, I feel, than to do the big, suddenly now we have to have a test over this thing. We've never had a test in this class before, and it's over 2 units halfway through the semester. There's really no going back at that point, and so we split it up. The Zoom link, which you guys obviously figured it out, but anytime you need to go on Zoom, it'll be in this room that we're in right now. It's always open the whole time. If you guys do log in and I'm not there, it notifies me every time. Which is nothing wrong with it. I'm just letting you know that it keeps track of that, so if you did get on there and you didn't let me know, it sends me an email. But hey, if we're supposed to have a meeting and you got on there, it also like kind of reminds me that we're supposed to have a meeting and I should be on there. So that's that. And then we have the text and the lab manual access, which is going to be talking about that course materials that we just went over for Canvas on that left side. That's supposed to give you access to McGraw-Hill, which is our textbook. We do have resources on there for studying purposes, but there's no assignments or anything on McGraw-Hill. I want to restate that to you guys because a lot of people get confused because in other classes you have assignment, chapter assignment, chapter assignment, chapter assignment. You got to read this freaking thing and then, answer the question so you get 100 on it, and nobody's ever actually reading it and they're just trying to pass it, right? Just click, click, click till you pass. That's a waste of your time and a waste of my time, so I don't do that in this course. So we don't have homework on McGraw-Hill, bottom line, okay? I can waste your time somehow else. Right, so syllabus, let's go over that really quick again. It starts out with just kind of stuff info about like where to find me, my hours and everything like that. For the summer, it's always by appointment only. So if you guys email me, or if you just meet me after lab and you're like, hey, can I talk to you about something? Then of course I'm going to stay and talk to you. I usually stay a little bit after lab whenever there's not asbestos in the building, and come up and like do some grade work or whatever and knock that out and then go home for the summer. So, but yeah, if you really do want to make an appointment to talk to me, or you want to have like a study session or something like that, email me. And I'm very responsive on email. I usually email back within a couple hours, and most of the time it's going to be right immediately. So I don't leave it. So please email me if you have any questions. Nothing is stupid. I will try to explain through anything. It's just sometimes I have a hard time sometimes getting understanding what your problem is just through email, because it's easier to talk about it in person with that stuff. But sometimes email is what you got. So it is what it is. So this is the syllabus page, and you can find your syllabus and your on Canvas. You can find your syllabus and your schedule on there by clicking on those links over there. And if you scroll down, there's an you'll see the syllabus. So that's on Canvas, right? So if we go to the syllabus itself, it's I'm not gonna go through the whole thing because a lot of it's rules and regulations and BS like that. So we're just gonna kind of go through stuff that I know that you care about, which is having to deal with the course. And it goes through our instruction methods, basically outlining how I'm gonna be teaching you guys. So we have the online classroom, which is Canvas. We have pre-recorded lectures. Those are available on Canvas. And if you think I didn't see them anywhere, it's because you didn't click on modules probably. I promise you they're there. So, but I'll walk you through that in a moment. No worries. We have Kahoot. There's no pin or anything like that. A lot of people will end up emailing me or texting me, I guess, emailing me or messaging me through Canvas. saying that, oh, I got to the Kahoot, but I don't have the pin. Well, that's not really how it works. It's not a site with all of the Kahoots that you're going to need to complete. Each Kahoot has a link that is on the module for each chapter. And again, I'm going to go over that in a moment, but that's how you access it. And you just type in your name every time. It doesn't save it. So, and you take a screenshot of that and post that under the activity thing in modules. Again, I'll show you. Anyways, the laboratory stuff that we'll be doing, you guys, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yes, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is when we meet for lab. So literally every day that we offer classes here at OSU OKC, you'll be showing up for lab or for this situation until we get into the lab. But yeah, so be sure that you do show up to that. That's going to be 10 a.m. every single time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It is a requirement for attendance in lab. It's not a requirement I made. It's a departmental requirement. Attendance wise, you can miss 5, but on the 6th one, you automatically fail the course, and there's no negotiation with that. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter why. If you were to, have a serious accident and you miss 6 days of lab because you were in the hospital having surgeries and recovering from a serious accident, you fail the course. That's just how that goes. That's not me. I don't make that rule. But you have to have a certain number of hours in person in the lab with attendance, in order to be considered having passed the course. So even if you did all of your work and got A's on everything, for the rest of it, it wouldn't matter. You have to have that hands-on. That's the rule. So we didn't make that rule. Again, that's not just an OSU OKC rule. That's a rule mandated across the entire state of Oklahoma. How they deal with it is on them, but that's how OSU OKC's science department deals with it, if that makes sense. You guys can tell me to shut up and interrupt me at any time. I will talk the whole time otherwise. So if you have anything you have questions about, please interrupt me, because this is it. Cool. So, by the way, all right, and then we have, you're not supposed to record any of the stuff that I'm doing. That's the rule. That's on the syllabus. Okay. All right, attendance, we kind of already went over that. I do keep attendance for like online stuff. Like you don't have to log in online regularly on like every day or something specific like that. But if you are not logging in regularly and showing up regularly and doing your work like you're supposed to be doing, then you will get an email from me asking me, hey, what's going on? Did you need help with something? Why aren't you participating in class and all of that? So be aware of that. So lab, you're probably going to be there. Lecture's a little harder to keep up with, but I try to see who's getting online doing their work. Okay. All right. So that's the work part of it. Type of stuff to be expected. So let's go through the actual grades on how you're going to be evaluated. We've got chapter quizzes. It's basically at the end of each chapter, a 10-question quiz, multiple choice. It is timed 15 minutes and all multiple choice, but it's open book. You can use whatever resource you need to answer it. Okay. I recommend having your notes open and just searching within your notes. Use the search function in whatever it is, the PowerPoint or the study guide or whatever you're using. Search for the thing in the question, and I'll make it easier on you. Chapter activities, it's literally labeled that. It's meant to be an activity where you're interacting with the chapter content. That's the Kahoot. Okay. So you'll go to the Kahoot, do that, screenshot that you did it. I'm not grading you based on your grade on the Kahoot. Okay. That is.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm sorry. On the Kahoot, I went to download the Kahoot, and the one I tried to download tried to charge me $95. So I'm having trouble with the one that you want us to have.
Well, it depends. Are you wanting to use it on your phone or you want to use it on your laptop?
Well, I tried to download it on my phone, and then I tried to download it on my iPad.
Because it should be the same. Yeah, it should be the same either way. So it is when you go on your phone. I don't know. Do you have you said iPad, so I'm assuming it's an iPhone.
Yeah.
So you go to the Apple store and you should be able to just search for Kahoot. And if you put Kahoot in, okay, it'll be the one with the K, obviously.
All right.
Anyways, for me, it says open because I already have the app, but it's just download that app. And then when you open it, you will be able to tap in either a code on there if you have a code available. Like if we're doing a review, for example, we would be meeting together like this, and I would open up a whole new Kahoot that you guys don't have a link to on Canvas, right? But it'll have a QR code or a number code, and that is where you would type that in. It doesn't do you really a whole lot of good to just open that outside of that. You will never ever be going into Kahoot and then finding your assignment, if that makes sense. So what you do is, and I haven't gotten to it yet, you have to get through it through the link in modules, and then it will open it in that app for you. So that's how that's going to work. Does that
Okay.
make sense? So we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so we have a disease presentation, which is a special assignment we'll get to. We have a lecture exams. We have 4 of them, and they're worth most of your grade. Lecture exams plus your lab exams together make up a grand majority of your grade. We'll get into that in a little bit more, but there's a reason for that. This class, I'm not grading you based on how well you can answer my questions on my padding. It's not what I'm grading you on, right? I need you to prove to me that you learned the material, and I expect you to understand this is a college course, right? It's not easy. You got to prove to me that you learned the material in this course. I'm the only one you got to prove it to. So, yeah, so that's what the tests are. That's what tests are for. You prove to me that you learned. Yeah, so we'll talk about those in a moment. But yeah, that's why those are the most important part of your grade. The rest of it, yeah, you can kind of consider the rest of it padding. You still have to do it though. And if you don't do it, you're not doing your padding. I don't know why you wouldn't want to do your padding, but whatever. We have pre-labs. Those are all in Top Hat. We have our first one due on Wednesday, technically, as long as everybody can get logged into Top Hat. We're working on that. And in lab participation, when we have labs, which we don't have quite yet because we can't get into the lab, there will be a worksheet that we will fill out for every lab that will be submitted for grade. So that's the in-lab participation. We have post-lab quizzes. Those are on Canvas. And then we have unknown lab report. I'm just going through the order, by the way. Unknown lab report, another special, we have a special assignment for lecture, which is the presentation, and then a special assignment for the lab, which is this. And then we have lab exams and then extra credit. The entirety of all of the science department is capped at 3% for any of their classes. We can't go over that. All right, so this is how everything's laid out. Okay, all lecture exams, so you'll look at this. Sure, okay, chapter quizzes, 6%, chapter activities, 5%, unit 1 exam, 7%. You might be thinking, oh yeah, it was about the same, but all of your chapter quizzes combined is 6%. All of those chapter activities, which is pictures of that you did the Kahoot, right? I'm based on, those are participation grades, 5%. The unit exam is that one exam. Okay, so each exam, the unit 1, the unit 2 / it's comprehensive, it's unit 1 and 2. We'll get into why that is when we get to that exam, but, and then we have unit 3. Those are all 7%, each of them, 7% of your grade. The final exam is comprehensive completely, all of the units, all the chapters, all the info we've learned. So it's worth the most, obviously, because testing you that you know everything you're supposed to before you leave the course. So that one is 15% of your grade by itself. Lab midterm, 7%, lab final, 10% of your grade. So that means that all of your lecture exams plus all of your lab exams, 53% of your grade. Okay. Be aware of that, because I feel like people lean a lot on, they think they're doing so well on the quizzes. They think they're doing so well. There's a reason you're doing so well on the quizzes and stuff. It's because people don't do very well on the exams. Like they don't prepare for it. They just expect it to be like the quizzes and stuff, but it's another thing. Right. If you use AI in this course, it's very popular to use AI in this course. People think I don't know when they're using AI in this course. Unless I can prove that you're using AI, I can't do anything about it. That's true for every course in the university, by the way. If we can't prove it, you can't get in trouble for it. However, when you start submitting your, especially the extra credit stuff is where I catch people most. start submitting that stuff and it's written very knowledgeably about this topic, and then you fail on that topic in every other aspect of this course, I'm going to assume you asked ChatGPT to write that for you. And I will ask you about it, not about did you use ChatGPT? I might ask you that, but you turn in something that I think you don't understand when you turn it in, and I ask you to explain it to me and you can't, I'm going to assume you didn't do that work. And that is academic mishonesty or dishonesty. There's another word I'm thinking of there, but I can't remember it. You guys know what I mean. You know these rules. These are not new. Makeup policy. There are, if you have a special situation, you can come talk to me. If you have a wedding that you're going to in a couple weeks and you can't make it to such and such thing, a lab or an exam or whatever it is, let me know ahead of time and I'll work with you, right? Labs cannot be made up. It's just the nature of the labs. It's hard enough for me to even get it all set up. But if you miss it, they're living creatures, right? So be aware of that. You cannot make up the actual attendance portion of the lab. You can make up the points. And if you need to, we'll talk about how when that time comes, okay? And that's only in cases where it's deserved. So if you just showed up late, you just rolled in, you're like, sorry, I missed the whole lab because I slept in, then I'm probably not going to give you the makeup points. But if you got in a car accident or something, then I will probably give you the opportunity for those. And that's why it says on the syllabus, it's at the instructor's discretion. So you'll have to convince me. Let's see, technology. Stuff is kind of just the normal BS that's always on here. So cool. And then at the very end of the syllabus, you'll see here this big old table. This is your best friend. It basically explains when everything is due. All chapter quizzes and chapter activities are due midnight before the associated exam. So all the Unit 1 ones are due midnight before the Unit 1 exam, for example. There's the dates of all the exams on here, when your presentation video versus your slides, because your slides are due first. And then I grade the slides and make sure you have it correct. And then you'll create a video with those slides that you'll submit. And we will play those videos in front of the whole lab, by the way. My in-person traditional courses, we give presentations in person. But if you really want to give your presentation in person instead of on the video, you can, but we just have limited time in the lab. So that's why we can't do that. We'll talk about that when we get closer. The lab stuff, when they're due, you will always have pre-labs due before the labs that they're associated with. The in-lab participation, post-labs are just like the lecture stuff. They'll be due midnight before the associated exam. Then the lab report is due at the end of the lab period portion of everything. But yeah, cool. Okay, so that's that. So this is the schedule for the lecture, and this is mostly stuff that's just suggested that you follow it in this order. It said that today you would be reading on chapter 1 and 3 and then doing chapter 1 and 3 stuff on the modules. That's basically what it's getting in here. Okay. You can do it in whatever order that you want to. Just be aware that the Unit 1 exam is coming up on the 11th. That's coming up. So be aware of it. It's not this Tuesday, but it is literally next Tuesday. You have your first exam. That's how summer courses go, y'all. So exam 1 will be over chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. That makes sense when you go through the chapters. You'll see why it's set up that way. But those are the chapters that you need to know for Unit 1 exam, okay? And we'll get into that when we get into that. This is the lab schedule. It's going to be modified simply because we aren't in the lab, but we're going to follow the same pattern on the dates on so for example, today in-person intro, well, we're doing it via Zoom. And there are the dates for those exams. He's got quite a bit more time till our first one for the lab. All right, remember the to-do thing is going to have things due in order that they're due. If you guys are having an issue where, oh, I didn't see that this was due, I'm going to assume you're not checking your assignment dates or your to-do dates on the side, which you probably are, and you probably just didn't get to the assignment and that was your fault, but you're going to try to say that you didn't see that it was on there anyway. That's cool. You will be getting an email from me explaining how to read this again. So just saying, you forget that, and I will basically treat you like you forgot it. But yeah, so just, you can see all of that. If you click the assignments thing, it will first organize it by show by date. And by what's due most coming up. Or you can click by show by type. And then you can go and find specific things, so including exams and assignments associated with each of those sections. So you click on, this is just a picture screenshot, but you could click on chapter lecture activities, upload evidence here, and it would have all of the chapter assignments activities where you would upload your pictures of your Kahoots just in order. Okay. Let's go through the special assignments really quick, the disease presentation and the lab project, just so you guys know what they are. It literally is just making a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, just like this one, based on information on the assignment, okay? So it's all listed on there right here. You have to have all of that info, and as long as it has that, you're good. There's no minimum on how much time it has to be or how many slides it has to be. There's no maximum on it either. Just fit all the info in there. And as long as you're covering all that info on the disease that you sign up for, which hasn't been posted yet, but you will eventually be able to sign up for a disease that you want to present on, you can choose. You're meant to be treating it like you're teaching the class about your disease instead of me teaching the class about your disease. That's basically what it is. And in the traditional classes, the in-person ones, that's what we do. My students teach that disease and I do not cover it. So, but yeah, this is an example of one of the better ones that I had. This was done by Paula Schwab. She's now veterinary student. So actual, like, I'm not vet tech, like at vet school. So at OSU. So this was hers, and it's just not anything flashy. I'm not asking for flashy, just informative. Okay. All right. The other special project is the unknown lab project. We'll be working through the information, the data for this project, the entire lab, once we get set up in the lab, right? So all of your results and everything will apply towards the 2 unknown bacteria that you'll be assigned at your lab bench. You'll be working with everybody at your bench to figure out what those 2 bacteria are. You'll be assigned 1 gram-positive and 1 gram-negative bacteria. I'm probably saying gram-positive and gram-negative, and you're like, the F does that mean? I guarantee you by the end of the course, you'll know what that means because we talk about it constantly. So we will get to that. That is a chapter 4 thing, by the way. So, but yeah, I don't want to go into it too much. It's better explained in the lab, I think, but all the stuff that we're doing in the lab, you'll get real results on your bacteria. They're different from table to table. You'll be recording them and figuring out what your organism is. You'll be filling it out in this chart here. Again, you see one side is for gram-positive and one side is for gram-negative. You just write down what your results are for those tests. And I have a special key that you use that helps tell you what your organism is. So you'd put your name, what tests you used that were important for identifying your organism, its environment, and how it is used, or what diseases it causes in society. You do that for your gram-positive and your gram-negative, and an assigned organism that everybody always has a panic attack about. Literally, at some point in the lab portion, I will assign you a bacteria name, and then you just answer these questions about it. It is not anything to panic about, but everybody always does. I never got my organism. I never got but they did, or all you have to do is look this stuff up, and they didn't realize it was just that simple. And it really is. You can just Google this stuff, and I don't need you to cite your sources. But if you write it out in your explanation with your own words and everything like that, it shows me that you got something out of looking it up and you know how to look things up and understand it on your own instead of relying on your lab table to do all the work for you. So that's why every single person gets their own on that one. Everybody at your table will have the same gram-positive and gram-negative. You can see how this could get easy to lean on somebody at the lab bench. But yeah. And then the last question is physiological tests and explain them. Basically just explain 2 of the tests that we have been learning about in the lab. We'll get to that more later, but we're going to learn a lot. All right. When you click on modules, we're finally to it. If you click on modules on the left side, the first one you're going to see is first up. You absolutely have to complete everything that it is making you complete in that area in order to move on. So if you want to get to Unit 1 content and start filling that out, you have to do what it wants you to here first. Don't worry. It actually does tell you what you need to do, okay? So, complete all items. That's what it says up there. You have to complete everything that it wants you to here. Turns out it's these ones. And hey, because you can tell, in case you forget, it's the ones with the little circles out to the side. They're looking for a check mark on it, basically. So you'll go through, make sure you do the integrity statement, basically saying you're doing your own work and you know how to follow the rules. Syllabus quiz, it just asks you if you read it and you understood it. You better have. And then the lab safety document, letting me know that you read the lab safety rules before coming to the lab. And they're kind of important stuff, right? As long as you've done that stuff, it'll let you move on to the next section, okay? So if you're having an issue with it, let me know. Now, there's nothing to do with the lab safety document. You just open it. That's all, okay? The other ones are quizzes, but you still have to do it. So those 3 things, that's what you need to do there. You can find the syllabus here and the schedule. There's a video on lab safety that I made like years ago. Some info about me. And then study stuff, study tips and Zoom and whatever extra stuff, okay? There's a lot of study stuff in here and there's a reason for that. All right. Then if you were to go to the unit 1, it's going to have all the chapters for unit 1. So we've got chapter 1, chapter 3, and everything that you need for those chapters. So in chapter 1, we've got chapter 1's PowerPoint slides. We've got chapter 1 activity Kahoot. We've got the activity evidence, which is just saying it's the screenshot of your Kahoot. And then chapter 1 quiz. So you don't need to be opening anything to do with Kahoot at all until like just click on the link. And if you click on the link from your phone or your tablet or your computer or whatever, it'll take you to Kahoot and you just complete it from there. You'll just type in your name and complete it, screenshot the last page and upload it onto evidence there. Okay. So that's how that should work. It shouldn't be, it's not meant to be complicated. The quizzes are fun and they're informative. They go along with the PowerPoint. So if you're watching the videos, watch the video at like 1.7 times speed or whatever on YouTube. You watch it faster, that's fine. Follow along in your PowerPoint, make notes on stuff that you understand or have questions about or don't understand or whatever. Then take your Kahoot maybe along with it to test your knowledge of it or afterwards to test your knowledge of it. Take the picture and submit it and then take your quiz, right? And your quiz can be open note. So maybe use your PowerPoint slides or the study sheet, which is a whole other thing. But that's that. And then you'll notice we have extra credit. We have extra credit for every chapter. And it's basically asking you to write questions in your own words, short answer questions, 5 of them per chapter. This is where I get a lot of ChatGPT. So I am looking. So be aware. All right. But it's meant to be easy points. I'm just saying. All right. So be sure that you can't even get into this, by the way. That's what this red circle is at the top. You can't even get into this without having completed the first up portion. So next important thing is going to be the study sheet, the unit study sheet, which we're going to get into, but you notice that's going to be at the top. Unit 1 study sheet, that'll be at the top of Unit 2. It'll be at the top of Unit 3, at the top of Unit 4. So Unit 1 study sheet, Unit 2 study sheet, you get it. All right, we'll get into what that is in a moment, but it's not a study guide. It's not questions. But whatever. So each one's segmented into chapters. And the activity, I'm just trying to see what I was notating on here. The activity Kahoot is the link to the actual Kahoot quiz. Screenshot and upload it here. All right. The study sheet. The study sheet is your golden ticket. You will only be tested over the study sheet content. All right. This is not like, I promise you, this is not like any course you've probably taken before. You think that probably makes it sound easy saying, oh, you're giving me the study sheet with all the stuff that's going to be on the test. Yeah, I am, but you're still not going to do well. So, here's the thing. It says things like something we've already even talked about. The first one on here, microorganisms need a microscope to be seen. Okay, that's easy enough, right? Okay, but you need to understand, and that's easy enough to understand. You need to understand everything well enough to apply it. This is not a vocab session. This is an understanding and application course. So if you can't understand the concepts and apply them to a scenario, what are you doing here? So, for example, if I were to say, we have a 35-year-old male that walked into the ER, he presents with, a sore neck, and a fever that he's had for a few days. He seems to be sensitive to the light and he has a rash all over his body. Which of the following diseases would be represented by those symptoms? And then you would have to choose from a list of diseases. It's meningitis, by the way, but, that's the type of question you're going to have. So I might say on here, meningitis has these symptoms. But if I present it in that way where you can actually apply it, that's people have sometimes a problem with that. So just, this is not a memorization sheet. This is an understand, you need to understand everything on this sheet. Okay. All right. Example. Amphipathic means it has both hydrophobic. So when you're studying these, understand them well enough to apply it. So if you're reading something on this sheet and it says amphipathic, means it has both hydrophobic and hydrophilic qualities. I pulled that from the sheet, by the way. Do you know what hydrophobic means? Do you know what hydrophilic means? In what context are you going to have to understand this sentence? Is this concept ever going to appear again in the future in the course? And yeah, I want to tell you, we're talk a lot about chemistry in this course. If you were bad, you were doing bad at the concepts in chemistry. We don't use the equations or anything like that. If you were doing poorly with the concepts in chemistry, you're going to have a hard time. So you're going to have to pick that up again. But I'm expecting that you all took it and you passed it. So you're here. Okay. So this is the study sheet. Of course, you can download this, but I'm just kind of pointing it out to you guys so you can see what it would look like and everything you need to know. You see how short chapter 1's little section is compared to chapter 3. I looked at chapter 4, right? That's not even all of chapter 4. There's the rest of chapter 4. And then we have chapter 5 and chapter 7. Obviously, I want to, point out chapter 1, the main themes of biology. Microorganisms need a microscope to be seen. Viruses and prions are acellular. These are very simple concepts. You guys probably don't know anything, I'm guessing, about bacteria and viruses, or eukaryotic pathogens. So those are a lot of new stuff. So that's why there are more topics on the study sheet. So, but yeah, that's the stuff you need to know for the exam. That's the stuff you're going to be tested on. It's not going to be word for word. So you better know it. You better understand it, not just memorize it. Okay. So that's the study sheet. Work off of that. I have cut down your textbook from 50 pages a chapter to 2 pages of study sheet. So you're welcome. All right. The Kahoot, when you get to it, if you click on that link, it should take you to this. This is what it basically looks like. It's a picture up here of the leading picture of the quiz. It says Kahoot and it says join the game. Enter nickname, just enter whatever name you want it to go by for it. If you don't want people knowing who you are, it's not a big deal. Just put DJ or LY or QT or whatever, or just make sure you get the screenshot at the end. Yeah. Oh, I'd already circled it. There you go. I don't know if that's there forever, apparently. So this is an example of a Kahoot question. How do we define organisms? Here are your choices. You'll click on the one that you want to choose. So how do we define microorganisms? Too small to be seen with the naked eye, unicellular, organisms that cause disease, or bacteria. Well, it's going to be this one. Any organism that's too small to be seen with the naked eye. It's not just bacteria. They're not all unicellular. They could be, multicellular. You just can't see them with the naked eye. And not all of them cause disease, right? So that's the idea and what to expect on that. And then this is the example of what you would screenshot that I drew all over, but hey. Okay. Moving on to the lab section of the modules. So there's that for each unit. And then on the lab portion is pretty much all worksheets that you'll need for studying for the midterm or the final or whatever. And we kind of worked through these as a class. So for the most part, we'll refer to them as needed, but it's at the bottom of the modules. Okay, we do keep attendance. Remember, it's important, especially in this class for lab primarily. I'm not keeping track of the time, but yeah.
Professor Yost.
Yes.
So what you have highlighted right now, the little like, I don't know, little parentheses around it. So
Uh-huh.
that stuff we do in class, like we need to print that off before we come to the lab, or?
Yeah, I'll let you know about it though. There'll always be announcements about stuff like that. Most of the lab stuff, I know you guys coming from chemistry, you had to print out a whole lot of shit. Well, I don't like that. So I have pre-printed worksheets that we put into
Okay.
dry erase like things and
Slots, okay.
dry erase. Yeah. So I'll let you know if you have to print something.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I'll
Thank
get
you.
that. Mhm. All right. And then we have also the textbook, which is McGraw-Hill. There's nothing required in there, just some study materials, but it is there because it's your textbook. And I do recommend referencing it whenever you want to understand something better. We're working on making the top hat work. I'm not gonna lie, we had problems with it last semester. Last semester was the first time that we used it, and I'm not surprised we're having some problems now. Some people are able to get in and some people aren't. I don't know. That's about all I have to say about it. But you do have to use that. Pre-labs are completed there. Post-labs are submitted there. So that's another screen, or so not screenshot, but those worksheets in the dry erase packet that I said, envelope, you'll take a picture of that and upload it as a post-lab. So you'll fill them out in class, and that way you don't get anything nasty that you're taking home or anything, which wipe it off and disinfect it. But yeah, there is an app for Top Hat, which I've heard is easier to use than the website. All right. Real quick, we'll run through this. I don't want to take too long on it just because don't want to go over time, right? We have until 11:15. I don't want to waste anybody's time. But most people come to my class not knowing how to study well, and they think studying is the same thing as learning. If I were to ask you guys, you don't have to say anything now, but just think to yourselves in your own words, the difference between studying and learning, or is there a difference at all in your mind? So most students say that studying is like learning flashcards and going through definitions and that sort of stuff and recalling information, or learning is knowing it well enough. Maybe you could explain it to somebody else or something like that, right? There is a difference there in most people's minds. So which do you tend to do more for your classes? Do you tend to study more or do you tend to learn more? Do they have to be mutually exclusive? No, of course not. But if I were to tell you about that, about learning instead of studying, how overwhelming would that make you feel? Especially if I put it into another perspective in a moment. But are you sure you know what you need to do to learn effectively in your course from your past, high school or whatever, wherever you're coming from? So if I had give you a choice for a unit exam, let's say unit 1, because it's coming up, right? Would you choose to study hard to make an A on that test, really, really hard, get an A on that test, or teach that unit to your peers? Like instead of me, if I were to tell you, you have to teach this unit 1 to your peers, I will not be teaching it, and how you teach them, that's what they get to prepare for unit 1 exam. If I said you could do that, and if you did that well, you get an A on unit 1 versus taking the unit 1 exam. Nobody would ever choose to do the presenting. Why? Interesting. I mean, nobody would typically. You already know how to memorize and recall, and you think that's been going well for you. Everybody knows how to do flashcards. They've been doing fine. They've been getting A's in their classes and whatever it is. But I've had people who I asked this question to, like late in the course, like at unit 4. And when I went over this with them in unit 4, they're still saying the same thing, that they wouldn't want to do that. But if you've not been doing well in units 1 through 3, and you're saying, I'll just study harder for unit 4, but why weren't you studying that hard on unit 1, 2, and 3? I don't get it. So study that way, or put in all the effort that you can. Why weren't you doing that? So that's kind of my point there. But always be doing your best and your maximum. Okay. Also, when you're teaching, you don't want people to think you're an idiot, when you're standing in front of them. You don't want your peers thinking that you're stupid, but you also want them to do well on the test because they're relying on you for the information. You don't want to let them down. You want to know the material in and out in case there's any questions anybody might have. So you want to know it a little bit better than what you might be expected so you can answer questions. How do you think, what the heck do you think your instructor does to learn half of this stuff? When I came to teach this, I had come from working in food science. I had worked in industry, y'all, before I came here to teach. I teach now, but I didn't always teach. I didn't always teach about everything that we learn about this course, right? I wasn't an expert on everything in this course. None of the professors were when they first started teaching. But how do we learn this information? Because we had to teach it to you guys. So we had to learn it better. So do what we do, man. I don't always know this stuff. All right. Have you ever had to explain something to someone only to realize that you didn't know what you needed to know to explain them? Maybe they asked a question about it and you didn't have the information that you needed to know. That happens all the time in real life, right? It's embarrassing, sure. If that moment applied to us in microbiology and you found out that you didn't know that information well enough to explain it to somebody, right? You might catch yourself while you're kind of going through the material, studying it, or presenting to the class if I made you do that or whatever. But if you don't find out then, guess when you do find out? The exams that are worth what, 56% of your grade. That's when people find out they don't know the material. So don't let that happen to you. This is Bloom's taxonomy. You may have heard of it. It's not a load of junk, it turns out. This is where most people spend their time with their studying, remembering, but they don't usually venture into understanding. And even if they do, they don't go into applying and whatever else. So we'll kind of go through these just briefly with Goldilocks and Three Bears. She's always getting in people's business. She's got some porridge that was there. That was probably cold, hot, or just right. There's some chairs there. One was too soft and one was too hard and one was just right. And then these beds, I don't know what the deal is with the beds, but there they are. They weren't happy she was in the house, right? So in Bloom's taxonomy, if we apply that here, remembering where most people spend their study time, we would have list the items that she used, like the porridge and the chairs and bed, right? Understanding, explain why she liked Baby Bear's chair the best. What was it about the chair that she liked? Demonstrate, if she came in your house, how this would have played out. Analyzing, compare this to reality. What could happen and what really couldn't, right? The bears can't actually like talk to her. They can't have a house either. I mean, not really, right? So that's the idea of like really evaluating outside of what is told to you, that sort of thing. And then so on and so forth. Best ways to study are going to be using metacognitive strategies, thinking about thinking, solve problems without referencing an example or solution. If you're going through something like a Kahoot quiz or one of the chapter quizzes, solve those problems without looking up the direct answer, okay? Look it up through the notes and try to find it then. If you can't remember what it is from what you learned, that's okay. You can still look it up in things. Just don't look up ask your buddy what the answer is. How are you learning? Finding the information and processing through it yourself is part of the learning process, right? Memorize everything that you're told to. That's easy. You should know how to do that part. Ask why and how and what about everything that you're learning so that you can understand every single topic that you're learning. Do you understand it well enough to teach others? And most importantly, do you understand it well enough to teach me? If I had you sit down and teach me about chapter 4, could you do it? You should know every single chapter well enough that you wouldn't be embarrassed to do that. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. The problem, or at least I say every chapter, I mean everything on the study sheet, right? That's all I'm asking you to learn. All right, bottom line to learning and not just studying. Do you understand it well enough to teach your professor? Just breaking it back down for you guys. And what would you do different if you're teaching me or anybody else, as opposed to just studying? Try to at least lean in that direction, right? Okay, lean more in the learning as opposed to just studying. I'll tell you, if you are relying on Quizlets, those are flashcards. Sorry. They have their place, but that's about all I can say. Now to think to yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you can get an A on the microbiology first exam? I know you haven't started studying the material yet, but if you looking back on how you studied for your other classes, looking back on, how well you've done in other science classes, chemistry, I know you've all had it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, based on what you know from those courses, how confident are you that you could get an A on the microbiology first exam, provided you put in as much effort for this course as you did in the past courses, right? Do you think you'll have to study more or the same? Do you have much of a science background? If you do, then you'll probably be set up a little bit better than somebody who doesn't. Biology helps a lot and it's not required for this course. I don't have a say in it. And how much time do you usually put into studying for an exam? If you are somebody who in the past has done just fine, pulling out, your study sheet just a few hours before bed, the night before the exam, you will not do well in this course. All right. For study skills. Yeah. Just a little bit. Okay. I promise I'll shut up after this. Go over this with you once, and then when you guys decide that you don't need it, that's fine, but you have to hear me blab about it for now. So good note taking. You can rewrite the info on the slides, or whatever I'm saying on the board or in the video or whatever's going on in the lecture. Rewrite it in your own words. That's good, right? In your own words. Okay. Don't copy it. Do not copy words. Do not copy words from the slides. Do not copy words from the text. Do not copy even your own words. That is a waste of your time. You don't learn anything from it. You're just writing the same word over and over again. How do you learn from that? Barely helps with memorization. It's a waste of your time. So stop doing it if you do it. It's better if you make flashcards from the concepts that you're learning in lecture. I recommend going along with the lecture and making the flashcards as you go. And then if you go back and you're like, okay, that was the lecture, and you look at your study sheet and you're like, oh, I didn't get this one on here, I don't really know that one, then make a flashcard for it. That's great. Or if you go on here and you're like, I already know that microorganisms need a microscope to be seen, don't make a flashcard for that then. Don't waste your time with stuff you already know. Okay. Don't do the Quizlets. You can use them to test your knowledge of it. But if you're just going through them over and 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 over, and just making sure, yes, I got the answer. 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 Yes, that's just a flashcard. And you're just memorizing those words. I have found that then when you don't see those exact words on my exams, people don't understand the questions very well. They can't reframe it in their minds because all they have seen are those exact words. I'm not kidding. Not a little bit, I mean, most of my students, okay? Don't rely on flashcards as your sole study method, but they're a great place to start, okay? Simplified Leitner system, basically, you get your flashcards that you made for chapter 1, you study, put them in box 1, you study them every day. So you go through it, you get it right, it goes in box 2. You got it right, box 2. You get it right, box 2. Didn't get it right, stays in box 1. And so forth, right? You can go through it once or 2 times, 3 times, but don't obsess over it. The next day, you come back. You go back through box number 1 and do what you didn't do the last time. Then you go box number 2. If it's right, it goes to 3. If it's wrong, it goes back to 1. Okay? You don't come back to that box until 2 days later. You stay at box number 1 if it's there every day. Okay? And then box 3, you go to once a week. But it's the same concept. If you get it right, it stays in 3. If you don't, then it goes back to the other one. You can adjust this however you see fit in order to fit this course or your needs or whatever, but that way you're not wasting your time on cards that you already know, and you're spending more time on the ones that you don't. Okay. Understand your study sheet. So go through each bullet point and explain it. If there is a bullet point on here, it's kind of like what we did with the hydrophobic, hydrophilic, amphipathic one. Go through that statement again and make sure you can explain everything that's going on in that statement, right? Let's see. And if you need to go back to the lecture, your notes or whatever, do that. But make sure that you understand it. You can always email me if you can't figure it out. All right, be sure you understand every concept in the bullet. We kind of already said that. All right. Reorganize your understanding, create a brainstorm or flow chart, which I showed here. You can also create outlines, but basically taking those topics and putting them with like and organizing them, and then defining things and explaining them in your own words. It's great if you write it out, even better if you can say it out loud, but ultimately that is kind of the goal. Present it to somebody else. Present it to your friend, to your mom, to your kid, to your dog, to your stuffy on the bed, to your steering wheel, and whatever it is. Put the information together and explain all of it to somebody else, right? Right. So better to talk to a person that can ask questions about whatever you're talking about. But if not, that's okay. Do the best you can with what you have to work with. But I highly recommend verbalizing your understanding of this information. It's been shown to increase learning a lot in scientific studies. So please try this one out. Don't be embarrassed. Get in study groups and present to one another and critique one another even better. So yeah, make your own slides even. So those are some study methods that I know a lot of people aren't good with using, or they make study flashcards and they just go through it until they die and fall into their own grave, basically. Don't keep doing that. Don't waste your time with that. Just go through the ones you don't know. And then when you know of them all, put them down. Okay. But yeah. So those are my recommendations. I know it seems like a lot for the study part, maybe a little overwhelming. So pick what you can and try some different things and see what you can do to help it work. Because you guys don't have very much time in this 8-week course to make it work, right? So, but yeah. All right, so that's that. Let me see. Do you guys have any questions? I know that was a lot, but it's just intro to the course, basically. I'm gonna go back through this.
With the Kahoot, I know somebody asked earlier, there is a basic option and it's the free one.
That's good to know. If you guys were asking about that, I don't remember who was, but thank you for bringing that up. Sorry, I'm just making sure I get these other people that were here because I can't go through it in the middle. So I'm missing Katie and Sarah. Katie and Sarah, if you guys are here, message me because I don't see you. I think one of you was here, but I didn't catch you before you left. But yeah, that's it, man. Next one is going to be, we'll be getting into lab safety and kind of intro to what microbes are, what media is, and stuff like that. For those of you who aren't familiar with that stuff, that might be new. If you aren't, you guys know, you can always just sit here and just have it on in the background or something and let it run. But I appreciate you guys showing up and taking the time to let me talk at you. And if you guys have any questions for me at all about any of it, we'll get to know each other more in the lab as we see each other in person. It's a lot more fun than I'm making it sound, but it tends to be pretty chill. I'm a pretty chill person. I apologize for if I say if, when I use language. Sorry, I don't, it just comes out, man. I apologize. I try to work on it. I really, really am. But yeah, so yeah. And other than that, I mean, I guess you guys are free to go. I'm not gonna keep you around, but I hope that we can get to know each other and soon. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you.
Oh, Professor Yost.
Yeah.
So I'm getting the error message for Top Hat and it says I need a join code. Is there anything like that that you can give us?
There isn't a join code. So I don't know what that is and why that's happening. It's a Top Hat, like Top Hat's side of things. And I don't know what's causing it. And we are in communication with Top Hat. Myself and the bookstore are communicating with Top Hat right now about that. If it gets to where it'll be behind or something like that, which I don't know if it will, I hope it doesn't, but it won't be on you or anything if something is late. So don't worry about that. But we're doing what we can to fix that problem. Yeah.
So we should just sit tight.
Just just sit tight. Yeah, hopefully it'll be working. I mean, literally emailed them just this morning about it. So hopefully, and the bookstore did too. So hopefully they'll get back to us. They used to be very responsive, but they haven't been great like lately. So yeah, I don't know. But I don't know, it's out of our control. We'll do what we can though. I'll let you know if I hear anything.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions, guys? I'm gonna drop you. All righty. There is going to be, I will say that if you guys don't drop off of this, I have another class at 11:30. So if you don't drop off by then, you're going to join into the fun of that one and get to hear all this crap again. So But thanks for coming, guys.